What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video where today I want to talk a little bit about free agency, going back and forth here, free agency draft, free agency draft. Today it's free agency, and I want to talk about running backs. Yes, we have Jonathan Taylor. We also brought back Trey Sermon, but I want to look more into running backs to see if there's a potential move that the Colts could make to get better at that position, right? With money to spend, could they bring in a guy to be a backup to Jonathan Taylor, to be the immediate backup? And when you look at the kind of guys that we're looking at here, I think it's a decent list of names, to be completely honest with you. Some interesting names here on this list. And one that we talked about a few times last year was Kareem Hunt, and whether or not we could get Kareem Hunt last year after the injuries were happening and with everything that was going on. There were a few different points where we talked about Kareem Hunt becoming a Colt and put it on this channel. So Kareem Hunt, I still think he brings value. I still think he's a good running back. So if the Colts are able to bring him in, right, put him in the same role that he was in Cleveland behind Jonathan Taylor can be the bell count. He can be the guy that's getting a lot of the work. But then you have Kareem Hunt, who is very good as a runner and very good with the ball in his hands, but is also really good in the pass game as well and plays really well in that role. So bringing Kareem Hunt in, I think, would be a very interesting choice, something that I'd be all about. And of course, I'd like to know what your opinion is on bringing Kareem Hunt in. You let me know down in the comment section. But then some other names here: Jerick McKinnon. I think Jerick McKinnon is another very interesting name. Somebody that's obviously had some success in different places, right? He was a name that, if you played fantasy football, you knew who Jerick McKinnon was while he was with the football team and now the Commanders. But back when he was playing for Washington, and then he leaves Washington, ends up on a few different teams. He's with or has been with Kansas City, won a couple of Super Bowl rings, was an important part of that in the 2022 season. And with the different experience that he has and the level of experience he's been in the league for so long, in the role that he plays, right? That, the Naheem Hines role. We need somebody in that role. Jerick McKinnon, like, that's what he's done his whole career. I think he's still explosive. He's shown that he still has an explosive element to his game, still a really good athlete that could fit into this Shane Steichen offense really well. So I think Jerick McKinnon is also a name to keep an eye on. But then there's Dalvin Cook. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with Dalvin Cook, right? Ended up on the Ravens last year, Jets, and then Ravens last year. Didn't work out with the Jets, didn't do a whole lot with the Ravens. And I'm so curious what his situation is, because, like, how's the fall off that quick? I felt like with Minnesota, he was so good, right? In the last year with Minnesota, in 2022 with Minnesota, right? The 33-0 game against the Colts, and Dalvin Cook was a huge part of them being able to come back in that game. So what's the fall off like? Of course, it's a running back. He's getting older. So there's going to be some fall off at some point. Did it already happen? Was last year just a funky year? Didn't really land on his feet somewhere? What's the situation with Dalvin Cook and what's happening there? Because I think Dalvin Cook would be a great option to come in and be a number two behind Jonathan Taylor, right? If he was able to do that, if he was fine with coming in and being a backup to Jonathan Taylor, then I think that's something you try to swing for, getting somebody that explosive, somebody that good, that's had that many, he's had such a long career and had such success. Now, I think the best thing about having Dalvin Cook as a backup is the durability with Dalvin Cook, and with him as a lead back, he doesn't play every game of the season. You can't expect him to. So with him being, the second running back, is that a better situation? I think it is. I think that'd be the ideal situation for Dalvin Cook. And, as I sit here and I'm just talking about it, I'm remembering the shoulder issues that he's had for a long time. And I'm sitting here wondering, like, have the shoulder issues made it like are a real problem in his career, a real issue to where he might, not be on a team and might not be signed because he's thinking about hanging him up? Is that a thing? Is he just waiting for the right offer? The more I think about this, the more maybe not Dalvin Cook. I think if he thinks he can go and if he can be healthy enough to go and be a backup to Jonathan Taylor, I would like that, right? Splitting reps with Jonathan Taylor. I think that'd be awesome. Now, I also think Jared McKinnon would be cool. A name on here that I haven't mentioned yet is Rashad Penny. I think that is something that's very interesting because from what we saw from Rashad Penny, when he could stay healthy, right, with the Seahawks, he was able to stay healthy for a little while. He was one of the best running backs in the NFL, which is what he was expected to be when he came into the NFL, supposed to be really good. Then he has a few years of injuries in Seattle, and even after all the injuries, comes out still one of the best running backs in the league whenever he was able to stay healthy. And then last year with Philly, but Philly, it was just a weird year for Philly altogether. So with Rashad Penny out there and with the connection to Philly, the connection with that style of offense, will they take a chance, bring Rashad Penny in, right? They already have that connection with Trey Sermon. So that's why I think Trace or Rashad Penny probably not going to be an option. But if they were going to bring in a backup running back, right, we're talking maybe. Okay. I've talked about Evan Holt coming back and the possibility of him ending up being the number two running back and being a really good option behind Jonathan Taylor. But if they want to go a different direction, use some of the cap space that's left to bring in another running back to back up Jonathan Taylor, one of the proven assets in the NFL. Go and give me Kareem Hunt. I think I want Kareem Hunt. After kind of talking myself out of Dalvin Cook, if we could score Kareem Hunt and have him be the backup again, because there's a track record of what Kareem Hunt could do as a starter, what he can do as a backup, what he did as a tandem with Nick Chubb is something that I think is very valuable, something that I look at and say that history is there. Let's take a chance and bring him in and seeing what he can do for us. I think that'd be a great possibility. Who knows? Maybe he's trying to get his way back to Cleveland and he, likes playing with Nick Chubb and he likes playing for Kevin Stefanski and in that offense. Who knows what he's thinking and what he's waiting for to sign. But if the Colts can swing getting Kareem Hunt, I think that'd be good. Get him into the running back room. Then when you look at the running back room for the Colts at that point, it'll be Jonathan Taylor, Kareem Hunt, Trey Sermon, Evan Hull, Tyler Goodson. So you have options at that point. You have depth. So we'll see what the Colts want to do. Again, the Colts have a good amount of cap space, at least according to Over the Cap, where the Colts have $28.412 million to spend. We've talked about whether or not we should get a corner and whether that's a possibility. I think corner not so much in need as the safety, right? We talked about safeties and what's that going to cost? That's going to take a decent chunk, probably maybe even half of the cap. So then you end up with 14 million to spend. Can you get a corner and a running back? You probably could, honestly, with who we talked about. Go and get Gilly, go and get Kareem Hunt. With the way the market is, for cornerbacks, and especially as old as Gilly is, even though he still has some tread on tires, and what the market is for running backs, especially somebody who would be a backup, you might be able to swing going and getting Kareem Hunt, Quandre Diggs, Stephon Gilmore, or Akilo Witherspoon. You could definitely add in Akilo Witherspoon with the other two. So there are options for the Colts to continue to get depth on this team, to continue to bring talent in on this team. They want as much competition as possible. What we've talked about in terms of free agents is a good way to do that. So, we'll see what they decide to do. I'd love to know what you would do if you were Chris Ballard. What do you hope he does for the Colts throughout this offseason? You let me know down in the comments section. And of course, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you get notified anytime any videos drop on this channel. Of course, I appreciate you stopping by for another video. As always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.